We have so many different, we have such a great biodiversity of professors here. So, you know, if somebody wants to study comic books or the Middle East, maybe Eastern Europe, they could find me. I think that that's what's great about John Jay is the diversity of our professors, their interest, diversity of our students and their interests. It literally spans the globe, and it's something to be proud of. My name is Staci Strobl, and I'm an associate professor here at John Jay College of Criminal Justice in the Law, Police Science, and Criminal Justice Administration Department. I came to the field through crime journalism. So in the mid-1990s, I worked at a really small daily newspaper in Massachusetts, and my job was to report the police blotter, which you may know is you know, the town's listing of everybody who got arrested the night before. And so I began to do that, which was relatively mundane, but I came to know the police really, really well in the town. And I did some ride-alongs, and the police chief invited me on a trip to the Ukraine where he was doing some consulting. And so this was right after Ukraine became independent from the Soviet Union, so it was a really interesting time to be with police officers as they were consulting with other police officers there. And it was through that experience that I realized that I really wanted to study criminal justice and not just be a journalist, reporting, you know, day to day, but to actually go a little deeper into criminal justice in an international sense. It was a really big experience for me in my life. I asked the police chief in my town, where do I go to study criminal justice? What's the best school? And he said John Jay College in New York City. And I said, ooh, I don't know if I want to move to New York City. But it turns out I've been here for 17 years now, so I obviously really like the city a lot. Sure enough, he was right. I got a great education. And then after the master's in criminal justice here at John Jay, I became a federal probation officer in Brooklyn, and I did that for 3 years, I wrote pre-sentence reports for folks convicted of federal crimes. I like to say that I met a lot of interesting people I wouldn't have otherwise met. So some organized crime figures, some, you know, major drug dealers. These weren't people that I probably would have met without that job. So it was really, really fascinating and a confidence builder to go through the training required for the job. Not just the physical training, but also the firearms training and so on. Really, really amazing. I decided my heart was really in academia, so I wanted to be a little bit more creative than that job required. And so I said, I'm going to go back to John Jay for my doctorate. So I came back to John Jay via the Graduate Center, the doctorate program. As you can imagine, really interested in culture and crime, and culture and criminal justice, and how culture matters to how behavior is criminalized, but also how culture matters to how the system operates. And so comic books in the United States, so this is sort of the American cultural landscape, tell crime and justice stories again and again and again. This is a dominant theme throughout the history of the books. I was a graduate student here sharing an office with another graduate student, and she saw a comic book peeking out from my bag. And she said, do you read those? And I was trying to cover it up. I said, oh no, because I'm a very, very, sophisticated graduate student. I wouldn't read this, Superman title. I mean, and she encouraged me to fess up and said, I read comic books too. It's my colleague, Dr. Nikki Phillips. Now we have a book coming out in July from NYU Press called Comic Book Crime, Truth, Justice, and the American Way. And in the book, what we have done is look at comic books in the last 10 years. And we have done a discourse analysis, so we've looked at the themes that are represented both in the text and in the graphics as to what is the crime problem according to comic books and how is crime handled. The hero is often some sort of vigilante. He or she could be part of a police force, but of course they're operating outside the framework of what their institutional mission is supposed to be. So it's a lot of extra legal justice, a lot of stuff outside the constitutional frameworks, if you will. And so we explore all of those themes in this book. I'm working on another project that I think would also really appeal to students who are interested in the international criminal justice programs at John Jay. The police in Slovenia, and in particular Senior Inspector Branko Novak, have devised a joint training program where they have 3 days with officers who are working in community policing sectors. And so I've been really interested in this as a model. It's not perfect, but as a model that some of the other countries dealing with the same problem could use. So I have an article coming out with a couple colleagues on this. The State Department has supported this work with a grant. And I think that this is really in the wheelhouse of John Jay College, because this is the educating for justice sort of piece that we talk about here at the school, where it's one thing to gather data and to be highly theoretically sophisticated about, this minority community relations problem that's going on in Europe. What I like about this project that I'm engaged in is that it is a lot more practical than just all of the theoretical stuff that I'm going to write about. It also is a way of evaluating and documenting a program that has some potential that the police are not evaluating and documenting as rigorously on their own.